They thought the humans were breaking. The alien generals looked across the smoking plains of Drax 7 and saw human soldiers stumbling, bleeding, and collapsing one by one. Their scanners showed it clearly, pressure dropping, fluids leaking, heart rate spiking. By all known logic, the humans should have been dead, and yet they kept moving. At first, the aliens thought it was some kind of machine glitch. Perhaps their suits are venting coolant, said one commander. Maybe it's mechanical, said another. But then the humans took off their helmets, and the aliens thought the red liquid dripping from their mouths, their noses, their wounds. It wasn't all. It wasn't coolant. It was blood. And the humans were still fighting. They screamed, they bled, they roared through the fire and smoke, swinging rifles as clubs, charging through plasma blasts, even laughing through their agony. The alien soldiers began to panic. Their life fluid is escaping. They should be dying. Why do they not fall? But that's the thing the galaxy never understood about humans. Pain doesn't stop them. Fear doesn't stop them. Nothing does. One alien medic wrote in his report, when they leak, they do not retreat. They become unstoppable. On every world the humans fought, the story was the same. They'd take wounds that would kill any known species, holes through their chests, limbs severed, lungs punctured, and they'd still crawl, still fire, still fight for each other. They fought with a madness the stars had never seen. Not for conquest, not for glory, but for survival and for each other. When the final battle ended, the alien commanders watched from orbit. Their armies had fled. Their weapons were silent, and below them stood the humans, battered, broken, drenched in blood, but alive. The commander whispered, "What kind of species bleeds so freely and still refuses to die?" They had studied humans for decades before the war began. Files upon files, biological data, psychological reports, combat recordings. Every alien strategist thought they understood them. Primitive mammals, fragile, emotional, easily broken. That's what the report said. But no one ever told them what it looked like when a human refused to die. On the fourth day of the siege of Drax 7, the skies were red with smoke and plasma storms. The alien coalition, 10 races united, had surrounded the Terran lines. 1,000,000 against 5,000. When the shelling stopped, they expected silence. Instead, they heard laughter. Not mechanical, not synthetic. A human laugh. Raw, cracked, soaked in madness. Through the smoke, shapes began to move. Figures drenched in their own blood, limping forward, holding rifles that barely functioned. Eyes glowing with something the galaxy had no word for. Some called it insanity. Others called it courage. The truth, it was humanity. An alien scout tried to describe what he saw that day. They were leaking red fluid from everywhere. Their skin torn, their armor shattered, but their eyes still burn. Every time we thought they'd fall, they screamed and kept moving. Commanders issued retreat orders that day not because they were losing ground, but because their armies were losing will. You can fight a weapon. You can counter a strategy. But how do you fight something that fights through its own death? The war logs of the Zereth Empire recorded a line that became legend. The leaking ones do not fear death. Death fears them. After that battle, the galaxy changed. Entire species rewrote their military manuals. They started studying human biology, not to defeat it, but to understand how such pain could become power. They found the hormone surges, the adrenaline storms, the will that overrides agony itself. They called it the rage response. Humans call it something simpler, not giving up. When humans bleed, they don't surrender. They remember every face they've lost, every name they've buried, every world they've fought for. Their pain becomes a promise. Their blood becomes a message. We will not stop. There's a saying now among alien soldiers, whispered quietly before every battle. If the human starts bleeding, you're already too late, because that's when they stop fighting to survive. and start fighting to win. Even now, years after the war, on quiet nights in distant star systems, veterans still wake up from dreams of that red-soaked battlefield. The day they saw a creature bleeding and smiling, and realized what true strength really was.
They came again, not for conquest this time, but for answers. Fleets from 6 empires hung over Earth's orbit, silent, hesitant, remembering what happened the last time they saw humans bleed. But humanity did not point weapons at them. No armies, no threats, just quiet transmissions saying, "You wanted to understand, so come and see." The alien envoys expected laboratories, machines, weapons. What they found were stories. Children playing on dusty fields, firefighters running into burning buildings, miners still singing as they work deep underground, a surgeon standing 12 hours straight to save a stranger. Everywhere they looked, there was pain, chosen willingly, not for glory, not for war, but for someone else. That's when the aliens finally understood. It wasn't that humans survived pain. They shared it. One Zereth officer whispered, "Their strength isn't in their bodies. It's in how they carry each other's suffering." He watched a human mother give blood for a child she had never met. He saw soldiers build homes instead of fortresses. He saw how they cried and kept working, how they bled and kept loving. He realized then, you can't study humanity. You have to feel it. Later that night, as the alien delegation prepared to leave, they saw a memorial. Names carved into stone, stretching endlessly. The human guide placed a hand on the monument and said quietly, "Every drop of blood tells a story. We remember all of them." The aliens said nothing. Some of them removed their helmets and bowed, because in that moment, they understood the thing their science never could. Pain isn't a flaw. It's proof of meaning. As their ships departed, one alien commander left a single message for his council. "We feared them because they bleed. Now we know that's why they are unstoppable. Because where others see death, humans see purpose." Centuries later, across countless worlds, children of other species still whisper an ancient saying, "Do not test the ones who bleed, because if a human starts to leak, it means the universe has pushed them too far." And once that happens, they will not stop. They'll fight the dark. They'll burn through despair. And even when their bodies fail, their spirit will keep walking.
The wars ended long ago, but the stories never stopped. Every colony, every ship, every alien child has heard the tale of the creatures from the blue world who bled and would not fall. They call them the keepers of the flame, because wherever humans went, the dark pulled back. It began quietly, an old mining moon where the workers were dying from radiation. When humans arrived, they didn't flee like the others. They stayed, packed suits with tape, shared their air. They said, "If we can breathe for one more minute, we can save one more life." The aliens couldn't understand it, to suffer willingly for strangers. But they followed, and for the first time, the mine lived again. Soon, the pattern spread. When disease struck the water world of Vish, human doctors worked until they collapsed, hands trembling, eyes hollow. They cured the plague, and half of them never came home. The Vish carved their faces into crystal monuments. Under the words, "They bled so we could breathe." Across the stars, armies disbanded. Empires stopped counting territory and started counting lives saved, because humanity had shown them something no super weapon could teach, that the smallest heart can outshine the largest sun. One alien historian tried to explain it in his final recording. Humans are made of contradiction, soft flesh, yet indestructible will. They break, yet never stay broken. They die, yet leave behind a fire that refuses to go out. He paused, then added softly, "Perhaps that is why their blood is red. It carries the color of every dawn that ever rose after the night tried to end them." Now, when travelers cross the old battlefields, they find flowers growing in the cracks of glass soil, red petals, human seeds. No one planted them. The wind did, the same wind that once carried the smell of smoke and blood. Now it carries life. Every few years, a Terran ship returns to those places. No flags, no armies, just people to clean, to rebuild, to remember. And when they kneel by the ruins, the aliens who fought them kneel beside them. There are no enemies left now, only survivors of the same story. So when someone asks, "What are humans?" the answer comes easy. They are the ones who bleed and make the stars remember why life matters. For 100 years, there was silence, no battles, no empires rising or falling. Just the hum of trade routes and the sound of children learning under alien suns. Everyone thought the fire was over, but peace is never permanent. It only waits. It started in the dark between galaxies. A radio hiss that swallowed whole fleets. Ships vanished without a trace. Planets went quiet. Even the old machines, the ones that had watched humans for centuries, could not explain it. They called it the void tide. A storm of matter-eating shadow drifting toward every living world. No weapon stopped it. No logic contained it. And as the galaxy turned to the only species that had ever faced the impossible and said, "We've seen you bleed before. What do we do now?" Earth's answer was simple. We fight. But there was no army left. No Terran dominion, just people. Engineers, miners, healers, teachers. They looked at the stars, at the darkness consuming them, and they began to build again. Ships forged from the halls of museums, engines lit by faith and caffeine. Every race that had once feared them now worked beside them. And still the humans smiled. One old pilot said, "We've already survived ourselves. The rest is just distance." When the first fleet met the void, it wasn't a battle. It was an act of defiance. Thousands of small craft, their shields burning away, diving into the black so the others could live a minute longer. Alien captains wept as they watched the humans disappear into the storm. They thought they were witnessing extinction. But inside that darkness, something glowed. Not a weapon, a heartbeat. Every human ship, every leaking hull, every last drop of their blood carried one command: transmit the light. The void could consume matter, but not meaning. Every signal, every memory, every story they sent filled the darkness with sound. Voices, laughter, songs, screams, love. And the void broke. Because the one thing it could not eat was life that refused to end. When the storm cleared, half the stars were gone, but the rest shone brighter than ever. The aliens called it the last human war, though the humans never used that name. To them, it was simply the day we kept the lights on. Now, whenever a new world joins the galactic network, they play a single human recording, static scarred, old, uncertain. If you can hear this, keep going. If you can feel pain, you're still alive. And if you bleed, remember us, because that is the legacy of Earth. Not conquest, not empire, but the stubborn, shining truth that even at the end of all things, humanity will find a way to begin again. When the fires finally died, the stars were quiet. Half the galaxy had gone dark, yet every world that survived shared the same night sky. A sky still streaked with the faint red glow of human sacrifice. The aliens called that glow the memory belt. To humans long gone, it would have looked like dawn. Centuries passed. Worlds healed. Cities arose again, built from the bones of ships that once fought the void. But the children born after the war didn't remember the screams or the fear. They only knew the warmth that remained. A power grid that never failed. A communication line that never went silent. A heartbeat still echoing in every machine that had once touched human hands. On the moon of Sereth, young apprentices study an old Terran engine. Its metal is cracked, its systems corroded. Yet when they touch the core, it hums to life. One of them whispers. It still remembers them. Their teacher nods. Everything that survives does. Because humanity didn't just build ships. They built lessons hidden inside their work. Lessons that said, pain is not the end. Courage is not a gift. It's a choice. Across the recovered worlds, people wear small red bands around their wrists, not as symbols of war, but as reminders of endurance. Every year, on the night the memory belt burns brightest, They light a single flame outside their homes. They call it the Night of Red Stars. No prayers, no speeches, just silence and the glow of fire against alien skies. An elder once said during the ceremony, "We thought they died to save us, but look closer. They lived so that we could learn how to save ourselves." In the libraries of the Galactic Concord, there is one unmarked chamber. Inside rests a single message recovered from the last Terran ship. If you inherit our stars, don't worship us. Just remember why we fought and keep the light moving forward. And so they do. Every new world that joins the Concord adds its own color to the memory belt. Some blue, some gold, some white. But at the center of it all still burns a deep, steady red. The color of human blood. The color of life that refused to fade. For 300 years, the skies were silent. The memory of Earth lived only in stories and symbols. No signal, no ship, only the faint pulse of old satellites drifting through cold vacuum. Then one night, every receiver on the rim of the Concorde caught the same whisper. A heartbeat, faint, steady, human. The scientists didn't believe it at first. The coordinates pointed to an empty system. A dead star, a handful of frozen rocks. But when they focused their telescopes, they saw a glimmer. A sphere of blue and white wrapped in clouds. Earth, not dead, not abandoned, just waiting. The fleets gathered again, not with weapons this time, but with hope. Ambassadors, historians, elders who had taught their children the stories of the red stars. They crossed the void in silence. No one spoke. No one dared to. When they reached orbit, they saw the truth. The planet was alive. Cities rebuilt. Oceans shining. Forests rising where craters once stood. And on every continent, lights blinked upward. Ancient transmitters reborn, spelling one message across the stars. We're still here. The oldest alien among them, a survivor of Drax 7, bowed his head. He remembered the humans who had bled beside him. The ones who had vanished into the void. He whispered to no one in particular. They never died. They just went home. A human voice answered through the static calm, rough, unmistakable. "We heard the stories you told about us. We're proud of you. Now it's your turn to lead." There was no command, no threat, only an invitation to share the sky. And so the Concorde named that day the Second Dawn. A new treaty, written not in ink or code, but in shared bloodlines of courage. Humans walked again among the stars, not as saviors, not as soldiers, but as equals, carrying the same flame they had once given away. Today, when children look up at the night sky, they see the blue world glowing faintly among the red stars. And the old saying has changed once more. When the humans bleed, the universe remembers. When they return, the universe heals.